Hello and welcome to Pike Creek Farm. My name is Renee, and if this is your first time here, thank you for stopping by. I do a lot of videos on canning and baking and cooking and vintage recipes. And if you're returning, well, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. Today I have the magic bag, I call it. It's a bag full of recipes that I've collected for like the past 40 years, it seems like. My mom gave me a lot of them, and they're family recipes. So they're a lot older than 40 years, some of them. Tonight for dinner, I have ground beef thawed, and I'm pulling out one of our family favorites. Mom gave it to me when I got married the first time back in the 80s, and here's her writing, and you can see the stains. I've used it a lot. But this is a recipe that is ground beef and tater casserole. I think it was in like McCall's magazine or something like that, and it was for the French fried onion rings, one of their recipes. So I'm going to make that today. It is ground beef and tater casserole from the 1980s from my mom. And I will put the recipe down below so that you can get all the ingredients. The ingredients are pretty simple for this. It's the ground beef that will brown, salt and pepper, can of green beans. I'm going to use a jar of home canned green beans. Tomato soup. You could use home canned tomato soup if you have that. And then on top we make mashed potatoes. You can use homemade, or I'm just going to do some instant fast. It's Friday night here. And you add an egg into them. That's my mom's trick, to make eggs on top of a casserole set up really nice, along with some of the onion rings. And then we put cheese on top with more of the onion rings. So let's get browning the meat. I am using ground beef today. You could use, let me wash my hands. You could use venison if you have venison. I suppose you could use ground pork or any different sausage blend too. The recipe does call for ground beef. You could use ground turkey. So we are going to brown this up. While the meat was browning, I mixed up the instant mashed potatoes. Like I said, you could use from scratch if you wanted. You could buy the ready to serve ones from the store, or if you had leftovers. The recipe just says 2 cups of mashed potatoes, and actually I think I made more than that. I read the amounts a little wrong, so mine's gonna have a little more than 2 cups of potatoes on it, which we don't mind. Then it calls for 1 can of tomato soup. Turn this off. I have my oven preheated on 350, and then a 1/4 cup of water is needed. So I just do a 1/4 of a can. Now we need to add the green beans. And it's 1 15-ounce can. The original recipe actually calls for frozen green beans that you cook and then drain. And I don't think my mom ever made it with frozen. I'm going to drain these now. Canned in water. I do some green beans that are in broth. If it had been a jar of those, I would have used that liquid as the liquid to add to this. So now we stir in the green beans. Some of these are long, so I'm just cutting them in half. So this is ready to go in the bottom of a casserole. Round, square, whatever dimensions you want to use. If you have a big family, you might want to double this and make it in a 9 by 13. So now I have my mashed potatoes. And my mom always told me when I make anything that's topped with mashed potatoes to add a beaten egg to it. And it makes them brown up really nice and hold their shape nice. The potatoes I added salt and pepper to. You can add garlic too. I probably will grab some garlic and add now too. Going to add a little bit of garlic. Mix this up. And then you put half of the can of the onion rings. I'm gonna stir this into it. It gives the potatoes a really good flavor. Now we spoon these around the edge. When I put the recipe down below, I will put the egg in there. It's not part of the original recipe, but it's part of how Mom taught me. So at this point, it goes into the oven for 25 minutes. Then we bring it out and we put the cheese and the rest of the onion rings on top. I'm going to try and connect the potatoes to the outside edge. Okay, into the oven it goes. I'm going to set the timer. And I will bring you back for the end. Okay, 25 minutes is up. And let me see if I can get you closer. The egg helps it get nice and toasty on top and browned. So that's what we like about it. I shredded some cheese. I like to shred my own cheese rather than buy pre-shredded cheese, which I do sometimes, but I like this. It melts better. It called for 2 ounces. I didn't really measure. I probably have more like 4 ounces that I shredded. Then we put the rest of the onion rings around the edge. put it back in. What does Mom say? 5 more minutes. So back we go in the oven for 5 minutes. And when it comes out, it's boiling, so we'll have to let it cool before we do a taste test. The timer went off. I brought it out. And it is boiling, so we're gonna wait to do the taste test. Okay, we're gonna try and serve some up. It could sit a little longer, but I was hungry. So here we go. Some of everything. Need some more potatoes. Here we go. First taste. Just love this recipe. It's one of those things that you forget how good it is and you don't make it, and then you see the recipe and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's so good. So I'm glad I made it tonight, and I'm glad I shared it. Ground beef and tater tot casserole. No, ground beef and tater casserole. I will put the recipe down below. This is a recipe from the early 80s. And I'm gonna go eat my dinner. Thank you for stopping by Pike Creek Farm. I truly appreciate it. If you like this video, push the like button. And if you want to see more videos on cooking and vintage recipes and baking and of course canning, because I love canning, subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here. See you next time at Pike Creek Farm.